Welcome to the Expand Your Experiences podcast. I'm your host, Rashawn Stevenson. This is a show where I deconstruct experiences and how they help us develop into the best version of ourselves. I'll be facilitating conversations discussing the frameworks and experiences that help shape our lives. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Expand Your Experiences podcast. I'm your host, Rashawn Stevenson. A big shout out to everyone who subscribed. A big shout out to everyone who has left reviews. And if this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. I wanted to start this episode out with a quote. This quote actually is something that I've been thinking about over the last week or so. And I wanted to find something fitting that would help introduce my next guest. Fill your life with experiences, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show. Which is by an anonymous person, but I kind of feel like the next guest has a plethora of stories and experiences to share. My guest is none other than Kentwan Balmer. Kentwan and I are actually blood relatives. We kind of grew up together. In the beginning of the episode, you'll hear us telling a pretty funny story / embarrassing story about me on his way to going to play professional football and etc. Besides the embarrassing story, though, there's quite a bit of wisdom shared in this episode. I actually learned a lot through talking to Kentwan about, his path and how he was able to achieve some of the things that he was able to achieve. So without any further ado, enjoy the show.
It's humbling to me to even have a guy on because I'm thinking back to when we were kids, and I'm gonna let him tell this one story about us being kids in a situation that happened. But I gotta tell this one story before I do that. So, and I'm gonna put him on the spot. So it was 2009-ish. I get a call from a reporter, and the reporter wants to talk to me about a situation that happened between me and Kentwan back when we were young. So Kentwan was in the NFL at the time. So I'm like, I'm cool to do it. But the story that the reporter wanted to know was hilarious. But I told the story. So I'm going to let you start out and tell the story about what I'm talking about.
All right. So when we used to go to our Aunt Brian house, we used to all get together, you, me, what I'm saying, KB, Mel, Tay Charles, Andre. So it used to be, 8, 9 of us over there at the time, and we roughhousing and doing everything. And I think we were having a cookout or something, and we were in the front yard, and somebody got a ball somehow, and we just started throwing. Then, of course, like everything else, throwing started, kind of going into tackling, and we started, just kind of tackling each other, playing around, roughhousing like we normally do, and I can't remember exactly what happens. I think you remember, Nick, man. He is an instigator. He used to get up on everybody's skin.
Yeah, shout out to Nick.
Yeah, always. He said something or did something, and it made me mad. And so at the time, I'm probably the smallest one out there. I think.
Mm-hmm. I think you were.
Because I'm the youngest boy. So, Jalen is now, but I was the youngest boy. And so something happened. I got upset, and and it just so happened we threw the ball up there and you caught it. And I just remember, like, it didn't matter if it was you or whoever was gonna catch that ball was about to get this work, because I felt like, y'all were my older cousins and my older siblings, so I felt like I always had something to prove. And so, whoever caught it that time was gonna get it. And you caught it, and I remember you caught it. As soon as you caught it, I came right across, boom, and we hit heads. You know what I'm saying? And I had the momentum and everything. So you went down, you know what I'm saying, and went back, and we kind of went down to the side. And then I remember you stayed down, and you kind of holding your head. And so I remember like at first I was like, yeah, I was excited, and then I was like, I hope you're all right. And then when you got up, I remember your eyes were super red. You were super red. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, I hope he didn't know that was me.
Hey, I'd never forget it because I don't know if you remember, because we went in the house because I didn't have a knot on my head immediately. We went in the house because I was like, nah, because as soon as I got up, I kind of remember vaguely. I probably had a concussion, by the way, but but I got up, and I think a few minutes later, and they were like, and y'all were like, all right, we need to go inside because your head. And then I remember we all got in trouble because it's like I don't even know if we can go back outside after that.
Yeah, we couldn't. Yeah, it was. They took the ball and we had to just sit around, and I think we ended up playing like domino or spades or something. You know what I'm saying? After that, but yeah, it was. Yeah, that was one we won't forget anytime soon.
It's funny, man, because I always say if I'm gonna get a knot on my head or something crazy like that, at least it was for somebody who actually made it to the NFL. So like, even though it's still an embarrassing story, I can say that, well, at least it wasn't just no Joe Smo that hit me and get a knot on my head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I tell people this all the time, man. Like those battles, and I think we talked about this last time we all got together and went to play ball. Like, I credit, you guys for a lot of my success because you guys really brought out like the competitive spirit in me. Always trying to keep up with y'all, and y'all giving us a chance to play ball. At Jackson when we come down, or we was playing in the backyard by the barn, or we was at KB's house, or where we was at your house. We were just always playing and doing something. And I think that really helped us develop a lot faster than most kids. And all the rough house, I think we were a lot tougher than a lot of kids too. Because that's where we come from. And I credit that to getting to college and being mentally tough and physically tough. More than a lot of guys because I played with a lot more injuries. Than people think. Throughout college and through in the NFL.
So I definitely want to talk about college. I definitely want to talk about the NFL, but I want to go back. I want to start at the fact that a lot of people listening may know what Weldon or where Weldon is, and a lot of people may not. But Weldon, North Carolina, I did a little research before the show and found out it was the rockfish capital of the world. So I know that you also like fishing. So at what point did you start fishing, and did it being the rockfish capital of the world have anything to do with you fishing?
No, I don't think it was because when I started fishing, I don't know if you remember, we were staying like in Thelma Road, like I think it was Thelma Road. Yeah, down there like Huckleberry Bottom, and these are like deep country places, so it's like little ponds and creeks and stuff that when you from the sticks like me, man, you find you find things to do, and fishing was one of the things we picked up. But once we moved to Weldon, I used to go down to the river a lot, just to clear my head and just, throw a rod out there. And I really enjoyed it. So that's something that I still do today, and this in Hampton, I've been out to the James River a few times and just kind of sat and threw a rod out there, had a brew or two, and just kind of, chilled out and just kind of got away from it all for a few.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been fishing a few times, but the thing that people love about the fishing experience is exactly what you said. The fact that you're just sitting out there and it's super relaxing. Like it's like you're thinking about other stuff, but you're not really thinking about other stuff at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's just you out there. It's you and the fish. That's it. That's all I think about when I'm out there. Just just catch some. Enjoy my time. Whether it's an hour, whether it's an hour and 30, I just try to enjoy myself. Because it does clear my head.
So also when we talk about Weldon, bro, I did not know this, but as of 2022, Weldon has a population of 1,389 people. So again, bro, 1,389 people in this town where you're from.
Yeah, it's some high schools bigger than that.
It's some high schools bigger than that.
Yeah.
I also remember being the fact that, and I kind of want to talk about, it's so many things I want to talk about. But before that, when in 95, I think you were 8 years old, right? And you were talking about how you watched the 49ers play. You were watching the 49ers play San Diego. It was I think it's Super Bowl 29. And I remember you said that Natron Means got stopped and 49ers ended up winning and stuff like that. You were 8, bro. At that point, did you have any idea or any belief that you would be playing professional football?
No, not at the time. At that time I was still, thinking about Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, man. I just sports was just something that was, just an outlet, something we did in the backyard, or I don't even think at that particular time I really had a full understanding of the game. I know my dad came over and we watched it on Van Street, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And we watched it, and he was yelling, so I was yelling. I didn't really know I was yelling out, but I just really enjoyed that moment because it was like 49ers won, 49ers won. And I know my dad used to always have the hats and the jackets and the shirts. So, he was happy, I was happy, and it was just a good moment, and like I said, I know Natron means personally now, so, it's kind of bittersweet, but, at the same time, at that moment, it was just about, the enjoyment of watching it with fam.
But how crazy is that experience when you look back at the fact that you watched this man play when you were like a kid thinking about Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles to now knowing this cat personally? Is that something do you feel like sometimes you got to pinch yourself to like this is real life?
Yeah, I do. One thing I try to take, advantage of every day, cuz is, just being in the moment, not thinking about yesterday, not thinking about tomorrow, but just being present with whatever I got going on. And, like knowing Natron and knowing, I think I met Dion before. I think Ricky Waters is in their game. I met Jerry Rice several times as being a Niner. Steve Young, met him a few times. It was Brian B.Y., so just, meeting these guys and seeing them, having a chance to converse with them and just seeing how they are outside of, football. It just was a surreal experience in itself. And like, at the time I didn't realize the power of that moment, but just kind of looking back on it now, it's like daggone, man, I had a chance to really see a lot of my childhood heroes and converse with them and politic and eat with them. And like, that's a dream come true in itself outside of football. And now, being a little older, it's like when I see Natron or I see, I was with Andre Purvis, that's a defensive lineman from UNC. He came up for Panthers Pro Day, getting a chance to kick it with him. I just take a step back and just be like, you know what, man, I've been watching you on, ABC, on Saturdays. I seen Natron at the coaches convention. I said, hey, what's up, Natron? It's been a long time. He was like, yeah, man, I remember you. We got a chance to chop it up, just politic and laugh and joke, man. And, it was just a surreal experience, like you said, because it's like, I remember him making a Pro Bowl that year, just being a beast, just watching his highlights at Carolina and just how he was revered around Chapel Hill. Like, so I, like you said, I do have to pinch myself and just be like, daggone, I really know these guys. And, they know me, like you said, I'm from a place of what you said, 1,500 people.
1,300. We can keep the 200 in there if that make you feel better, but 13.
Yeah, my bad, Coach. I got a call. Cuz, you got me?
Yeah, I got you good.
Yeah, so it is, man, like with 1,300, so it's like, daggone, man, like I really kind of did this thing.
So with that being said, man, at what age? I only remember you playing football and basketball in high school. Did you also play football and basketball in middle school too?
Yes, I did. I played briefly my 7th grade year, and then we moved away for a while, to go to we went to Phillips Middle for a little while. I played football there with some guys, and they were pretty good, up there. And then we moved back to Weldon my 8th grade year, and that's when I really started like focusing in and kind of developing then.
So when you played football and basketball, let's go to high school. I remember coming to see you play, and I remember for whatever reason, you, as you mentioned earlier, you were the littlest guy that we were playing with, and then you were by far the biggest guy in our family. Now, this was in high school. And I remember coming to see you play, and I was always saying, because you were just, and for those who have never seen Kentuan or know how big he is, I think you were like 6'4", 6'5" in high school. So you were playing center, and you were pretty much dominant. And if anything, I thought maybe you'd be going to college to play basketball. I never imagined it would be football. I mean, but I can imagine it being football because you were good in both. But I just thought it was going to be basketball for you. So were you more focused on one or the other in high school, or how did that work?
Well, starting out, 8th grade, 9th grade, I was still kind of figuring out the football thing. I was big, but I was still kind of, getting coordinated a little bit. I was definitely further ahead in basketball, much further ahead at that time because, like I said, all the competitive battles we had back in the backyard and, growing up, Charles only being a year older than me. So that's, I'm battling him every day, what I'm saying? We working different drills. And so I was much further ahead in basketball than I was in football at that particular time. But I thought I was probably going to be a basketball player. That's what everybody think when, they're in the 8th, 9th grade. And then, playing AAU really helped me develop in basketball too. Going out and just like you said, going out of the area and seeing different things. Like I remember when we played in the Boo Williams tournament when I was 14. This was my 9th grade year, and man, they had a guy on their team that was 6'11". He was 14 years old. And then going down to the YBOA in Florida. You playing against guys 6'8", 6'9", and you gotta, I'm a center, I'm a big man. I don't really have a lot of handles. I'm physical. I could jump. So you got to find different ways to, be successful. And, I always made a name for myself when I went to these tournaments. My first dunk was in the 9th grade. In the 8th grade, we went to the YBOA. It was myself, Darius Massenberg. I was playing with the Twin County Breakers out of Rocky Mount. And we went out to Florida and, we were playing against this team from New Jersey. They had a center. He was about 6'9", and only like 6'2", 6'3" at the time. So it was like, okay. So once I got the tip, I knew it was over for him. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I can out-jump this guy. I can, I can take this guy, do this. So I remember we were running down the fast break, and he was in front of me, and the guy was in front of him. And for whatever reason, I just knew he was going to miss. So I really stepped on the gas. And when it bounced off, it just bounced perfect. He jumped. I caught it and dunked on him, knocked his glasses off. I was hanging on the rim. I got a tag. My teammates was going crazy. The coach called a timeout. It was just nuts, man. And I think when I came back home, I came back with a lot of confidence because I knew that, like it didn't matter if somebody was talking to me or not, I was going to be the best guy on the floor. And so I think that's what kind of helped me develop, earlier in my career for basketball.
And before we started recording, we were talking about experiences, man. And what's interesting is, and again, when you also asked, why I started this podcast, I think that these experiences and talking about and sharing these experiences is so valuable because, like you said, you're from a place where 1,300 people, but and just in the two examples that you just gave, you were outside of that area. You were doing things, you were experiencing new things, you were experiencing playing with people that were more talented, so you thought, or taller or whatever the case is. But just through those experiences alone, and it gave you confidence and it made you, when you came back home to play and everything else, you had a different bounce. You had a different swag about you based on the experiences that you were having.
Agreed. And, and the crazy part is before, like every year from that point on, I played with a different AAU team. I played with Garner Road 1 year. Then I turned around. I played 1 year with the Greensboro Gators. And then I played 1 year with the Durham Disciples. So every year it was like, I had a different basketball experience. I had a chance to play against and play with some Division I basketball players and, it just really opened a lot of doors for my competitive spirit in basketball, and every year I just try to take a little something from it. And like you said, I don't think I would have had the same development if I had not had those experiences.
Now transition me to football. Now that's basketball. Now transition me to football because you were lacking. But did the also experience of having that type of exposure in basketball help you on the football field?
Yes. I always encourage, young athletes that I recruit to play more than one sport, whether it's football, basketball, wrestling, baseball, whatever. Always, because I think a lot of sports are really correlative. Like when I played football, I knew hey, I was going to get in shape for basketball, like physicality. My body was going to be conditioned to take a beating for however long we played. When I played basketball, it was like I know my footwork and my speed and my agility was going to be on point for football. When I was out there doing track, I was like, okay, I got to develop my speed. I got to throw a shot. I was just always trying to develop in different ways. But I don't really think I started developing as a football player until my sophomore year. We had a coach come in. His name was Bill Jordan. He was a white guy. And he really put a lot of confidence in me early on. He let me play tight end, started throwing me passes. I was catching them. And then I think the play that really kind of set it off was we were playing against Lewisburg at the time. We went to a 4-4 defense. I had never played linebacker before. And he was like, look, I know you can do this. You're a great basketball player. And he just always just telling me little stuff. and we ended up dropping in coverage. And so I had to cover a running back like one-on-one, you know what I'm saying? And he tried to run an out route. I jammed him and I undercut him and I intercepted the ball. And I took it almost back for a touchdown, you know, and I think from that point on, I was like, okay, I can do this. You know, and then I had, you know, after he left, we had Coach Grady come in, and Coach Grady is a no-nonsense type guy, you know, all about being physical and tough, and he used to cuss us out and all that other stuff. And, you know, and really, you know what I'm saying, like he really prepared me for college because, you know, he was hard on me. He never, you know, allowed a way out. You know what I'm saying? It was never like, oh, shit, you know what I'm saying, I could duck out of it because he was always challenging me, you know. And once he got there, I really took another step because he forced me to be a tougher football player. And what I mean when I say that is like, yeah, you could tackle someone, but are you gonna keep them down? You know, and I think he kind of brought that mentality to Weldon. Like, well, we might not have been very good, but we were going to be tough and we were going to be physical. And, you know, so I credit him with developing my mental and physical toughness outside of my family, you know, because, you know, he saw, you know, where I need to be and he pushed me to get there. You know, but I remember my junior year when he came in, we were playing against Northampton East, your neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And for homecoming, and one of our leaders, Darian Bynum, he made a powerful speech before the game. You know, he was just talking about, you know, our circumstances and different things. And, you know, it fired everybody up. And I went out there and I knocked one dude's helmet off. You know, I broke a dude down, like just, you know, naturally a bit. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I broke the dude down, went inside, quarterback was there, racked him, boom. You know what I'm saying? Knocked his helmet off. He got a concussion. He's out. You know, and then about two plays.
Was it similar? Was it similar to the one you did with me when we were kids? The same kind of same type of hit.
Very similar. Very similar. Very, very similar. You know, except for you. You know, you were tough enough to get up. He wasn't. You know, and then then something else happened, and you know, I don't know if you remember the twins, Chris and Charles Edwards.
Yep.
Yeah, they're around our age. So, and then unfortunately, Chris came in, and this may have been my junior or senior year, but I ended up like, you know, he was on the sideline, and I hit him, and he ended up breaking his leg, and that was kind of a bad situation at the time. You know, I mean, I racked him, but you know, I didn't feel good about him breaking his leg, of course, because I know those guys, and we're friends. But
right.
You know, so that was fortunate but unfortunate at the same time. And you know, so once, you know, those type of things start happening, I was able to start making those plays. And you know, we were playing against Roanoke Rapids. I think my junior year, I got, you know, the hit of the week. You know, our J.D. Garner, he was catching a punt and he muffed it, and I was a snapper, so I was the first one down the field. And you know, he ducked me, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't get the full impact, but when I hit him, man, I rolled him up, and it sounded off like it was a good hit, you know. And so it was just a lot of things, man, that's just kind of started happening on the football field, and you know, this kind of started making me have a lot of confidence. And I don't think, you know, because I wasn't a lineman, because I wasn't a running back or receiver, you know, I don't think guys realize how much I started developing in football.
That makes sense. It's funny because I think like when you think about how the things that were happening for you to build that confidence, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a progression, and it was a progression that was happening the way it was supposed to happen in order for you to develop.
It was. Everything kind of fell into place, you know, and I tell people that all the time. Like when, you know, I look back and just like, you know, when reminisce, like everything kind of fell into place how it was supposed to. You know, I mean, I rode past her brand house the other day and I couldn't believe like like I spent as much time there as I did, you know, went by, you know, you guys' old house, and, you know, went by Uncle Ike's old house, and, well, you know, Aunt Laura's still there, but, you know, just really reminiscing. Like anytime I go home, I like to go by like all the old places just to reminisce and keep me grounded. But it's like, you know, so many things had to fall into place. You know, I had to be the young guy. You know, I had to be the little cousin and the little brother because, you know, it was always something there. I was always chasing, always striving to be better because I felt like I had to keep up. You see what I'm saying? And then, you know, hitting a growth spurt and, you know, being around guys who at the time were more talented because I didn't always have the coordination that I had. You know, that forced me to always be chasing, you know. And I don't know if you remember when I got hit by that car? You know,
no.
So, you don't remember that?
No.
Well, this was, I can't believe you don't remember that. This was,
I don't remember that.
That was in like, I was in like the second or third grade when that happened. Fourth grade, might have been third or fourth, second, third or fourth grade.
Now that you bring it up, I feel like I kind of remember, but for whatever reason, I thought that was your brother. I thought that was your older brother that was hit.
That was me. Yeah, and the crazy story about that was right after I got drafted, there's a lady that still stayed at the end of the road that we were living on at the time. Her name was Buckeye, and there's a guy out there fixing the mailbox, and she went out there like, "Hey man, what you doing?" He was like, "I'm just fixing the mailbox. I work for the city X, Y, and Z." And the guy said to her, he said, "Look, my wife hit a little boy, about 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Their family used to stay down here. And she still talks about it to this day." And she said, "Don't worry about it." He was like, "What you mean?" He was like, "That boy plays in the NFL now. He's fine." And
wow.
She said the guy literally like fell over, jumped on his phone right there, called his wife. They couldn't believe it, and so that kind of plays into what we were talking about, in terms of like just how things fall in line, just all the adversities, just everything just kind of fell into place for me to get to, to where I got to. And I'm thankful for the journey. And, even, looking back at the only camp I went to was Carolina, for football. How that came about was the guy I was telling you about, Bill Jordan. He was good friends with the coach over at Running Baptist High School, Frazier. I forgot Coach Frazier's first name. Coach Bennett, I'm sorry. Tim Bennett. Yeah, he was the head coach at Running Rapids. And, he was a fan of mine. He would, even though I was at a different school, he always respected, some of the stuff I was able to do. And Coach Kim Browning, the guy who recruited me and still one of my mentors to this day, he called Coach Bennett and he said, "Hey, look, what you got down there?" He said, "I got some talent, but, there's a kid down there." Well, and I was in the 10th grade that, you need to come to see. That's what he told him. Mm-hmm. And we laughed about this about 2 weeks ago. He came to Weldon, and he was like, "Look, I really can't talk to you, about anything because you're underclassmen. That's against NCAA rules." But he said, "I recruited a man like you about 4 years ago. His name was Julius Pepper." And he was like, "I think you can be that guy." You know what I'm saying? And so, my coach at the time, James Lynch, so we call him Saab, Coach Lynch. He was smiling, I was smiling, and so I think just. Like I said, man, for everything to happen the way it did, it was just, it was nothing but God, and, everything just kind of really fell into place. And when I became a senior, he came back, he invited me to camp. And this is how crazy this was, right? We were living in Runner Rapids on a little blue house. And he came, he was like, "Look, it's going to be $400 to go to this camp." We ain't got $400. I mean, you know how it was back then. We ain't got $400.
Right.
But he was like, "Look, he'll get it back, when we get here or whatever, blah, blah, blah." He was telling us that, and so, so my dad, I don't know how my mama got in contact with my dad because there was no cell phones or no nothing at the time,
Mm-hmm.
So she got in contact with him. He called. He was like, "Look," you know what I'm saying? He did what he had to do, like Western Union or, our MoneyGram or whatever he did, the $400 got there, you know what I'm saying? And we had to do I had to cut a few yards to get some extra money and all this. And I went up there, right? Now I'm gonna tell you how crazy this is. I go up there, it's kids from Fayetteville, Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte, you know what I'm saying? These kids got on their high school logos, they got cleats, they got gloves. I came up there, I had one pair of shorts, I had some Jordans on, like I had some like old Jordans on, a helmet, and no gloves. You know what I'm saying? I had the oldest helmet Weldon had. Like I had a little dirty visor on it, like just gritty. You know what I'm saying? And so when we came there, you know what I'm saying? Like guys were warming up for the 40. It was like Balmer is always right at the top of the list. So it was a guy named Austin, and it was me. So I get out. He get out pretty track stands. He goes out there, runs 4.5, whatever he runs. So I come out there. I got on a pair of jeans. Some Jordans that ain't tied up. You know what I'm saying? I get out, no form, no nothing. Boom, run a 4.7. So like, oh, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? They were like, "All right, do it again. Come down, same thing. Boom, run faster. 4.7, 4.71. I was like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? So then it's like, all right, so in camps, how it used to be is, like, all right, the prospects, they'll keep them over. So like they work out with the coaches, do one-on-ones, do position-specific drills, and then everybody else kind of goes out and just do like, work with other coaches. So they were calling out for, they were calling out for guys. They calling guys' names. So I remember saying, so I was walking away. Like, I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm walking away. Somebody said, "Hey, Balmer, come back over here." I'm like, "What?" Like, so I walk up to him. Nick Shirelli was his name. He's with the Denver Broncos. Well, he was with the Denver Broncos. I don't know what Coach Shirelli's doing now, but He called me, he was like, hey man, we want to check you out. Come over here with me. So we go over there. We start doing one-on-ones. Now, mind you, at this time, I had never done one-on-ones in my life, like ever. I don't even know. So luckily, a couple guys went before me, so I had a little idea of what to do. And Cuzzo, when I tell you I went out there, I cooked everybody that was out there. And I'm talking about at end, at tackle, at nose guard, everyone down the line. Just off just pure basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like I understood how to, maneuver, spin, crossover. Like I was just out there just playing basketball.
Yes.
And so that happened, you know what I'm saying? So then this time the D-line coach, now he's driving me around. Coach Brown is smiling, winking at me, you know what I'm saying? Because they like, man, like, okay, you know what I'm saying? We weren't sure about you or whatever. And so this was at the end of my junior year, you know what I'm saying? We're going to football season for my senior year. And and so, they call me. My mom comes up, she's driving a little two-door Nissan, like 1000 or something.
Yeah.
A straight bucket. And she comes up and, you know what I'm saying, they called me up in Coach Bunning's office, and he's like, look, man, we can't offer you a scholarship, you know what I'm saying, because that's illegal, but just know when you get home tomorrow, we're going to be calling you with the offer. My mama started crying. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm going to Carolina? Like, I'm coming to Carolina? Like, man, it just was crazy. And so, me and my mom, we talked about it on the way home. And this is the crazy part, right? So I leave to go play basketball, right? I leave to go play basketball. Coach Brown and Coach Button called. My mama had to accept my offer over the phone. Like,
wow.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that's how everything just kind of spiraled out of control from there. You know what I'm saying? Just everybody started talking about it, it was getting around the area. So that's how that whole thing kind of.
So that was junior year going into senior year. You got the offer and you go to Carolina, bro. I mean, and I'm talking about Carolina. Like, first of all, let me just say this. I am not a Carolina fan. I've never liked the University of North Carolina in any sports, but I started to like them only because you went there. Like I'm not a fan still, but of course, if my blood is playing ball at Carolina, I gotta have some type of, love for Carolina.
Bit of support. Yeah.
But bro, I'm talking now. You're again this kid from a town, Weldon, 1,300 people going to play at the school where Michael Jordan, Julius Peppers, Lawrence Taylor, Jeff Saturday, Natron Means. I mean, it's just so many different people go to this school. What is that like for you at that time? I mean, you've been pitching yourself for a long time, but I'm sure at that moment you were like, I can't believe that this is happening.
Yeah, I couldn't. The best thing that ever happened to me with the whole Carolina thing was the Bridge program. And, they have, young men come in like a month or two early to kind of get acclimated to how things operate in Carolina. You can learn your way around. You get to take some courses. You get to socialize with other incoming freshmen. I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me because, one, when classes actually started, I had a chance to kind of understand what it was going to be like. And then two, I got a chance to meet up with my best friend, Martell. He was my roommate during Bridge. Tremaine Goddard was there, which is also my dog, and Corey Powell. So those are guys that, I still keep in touch with, frequently to this day. But, that really helped me at Carolina because, I think if I just went there straight out of Weldon, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it because I wouldn't have understood how things work. Like, when I got there, they gave me a laptop. I had to learn how to work that. I had to learn how to use Blackboard and, do stuff online that I had never done before. You got to think, my biggest class in high school was 12 people, 15 people.
Right.
I go into class now, it's 500 people now.
Right.
300 people, that's normal. So I think that was the best thing to happen to me, at the time was the Bridge program at Carolina.
So another thing about the Carolina experience. So now you go from, playing and being the best player in the area to now you're on a team where everybody's good. How did you make the adjustment for that?
Initially, I was struggling with it because, I had so much success in high school, coming in as a freshman, played all varsity sports. So, I think that can, that can hurt a kid too. When you have too much success too soon, you expect that to happen. But again, the Bridge program kind of showed me what was up. you know, how to compete, you know, at that level and what to expect. Because my first workout at Carolina, and my strength coach probably don't even remember this, Coach Connors, man. My first workout was there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't even bench press 225. Like, I only did it like 7 times. So I was like severely undeveloped, you know, but just kind of, you know, had some strength, had some ability. And so, you know, everybody was laughing, you know, kind of like joking me a little bit, because it's like, okay, you got this kid here, but his legs are bigger than his upper body, you know. And so what are we going to do with him, and how is he going to pan out? And so, you know, my first workout there, I never forget it. We went out there, we did stadiums. And now, mind you, I had never done this before. So we're carrying cement bags, we're wearing weighted vests, we carrying brooms over our heads. Like, we just doing a bunch of stuff like I had never done before. So we get to the end of the workout, I'm through. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm done. Like I'm through. You know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the workout, like, you know, so we've been out here about 45 minutes just running steps, you know, and then at the end we do this thing called piggyback. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it was like, you know, everybody know each other. So I'm gonna carry you, I'm gonna carry you. So, and I remember we had this big ass fullback, man, named James Gibson, called him Gibby, man. He about 270 pounds, man, about the same size. But see, that's deceiving, because he been lifting and squatting for 4 years. Like, his 270 is really like 320.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so he was like, man, I'm kind of heavy. I was like, I got you, man. And so he jumped on my back. So at first I'm like, oh shit, first. You know what I'm saying? My legs already tired. But once I started, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got about halfway. I wanted to stop. Everyone was like, go, 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 go. So I kept pushing, got all the way to the top. When I got to the last step, I fell out. Boom. You know what I'm saying? They pouring water on me, you know what I'm saying? Like, get up, get up, get up. I'm like, Coach, fuck y'all. Like, I'm not getting up. So they ended up going inside. They came by and checked on to make sure I was good and everything. So, but when I went back, I couldn't go to class, you know what I'm saying? Because I was just exhausted. And so, you know, that was my introduction to Carolina, you know, like, so from that point on, I had already understood, like this is what it's going to be like. So I was able to get my mind right. So that happened. And then my freshman year, you know, I thought I was going to come in for compete for a job. I probably should have redshirted, but just because physically I wasn't ready. You know, mentally I thought I was, and I thought I was physically ready, but I wasn't. And just watching guys get opportunities. Like, my freshman class, we had guys like Terry Hunter, Khalif Mitchell, Kenny Price, Holly Taylor. We had a really good freshman class, but the class before us was just as good.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're deep at the defensive line, and, you know, I'm trying to find out ways to play. I'm frustrated, you know, so my class is stuffered. And so initially I was really thinking about transferring from Carolina. And I called my pops, and he was like, look, man, you know, we made this decision. You're going to have to ride it out. So, so I just made up in my mind, after me and him got off that phone call, like, that, look, man, like, I'm going to be the best one here. I don't care what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? And I just started really taking that mentality. Like, yeah, it's not my time, but I just got to be patient, you know? And, and so from that fall to the spring, you know, we were in winter workouts and all this other stuff. So I, you know, started really investing into, you know, working out, eating, sleeping right, you know what I'm saying, just trying to gain any edge I could on those guys, because, you know, they was more physically developed than me at the time. And so a blessing in disguise, and God rest the dead, Tommy Davis, you know, he was big bro to me, you know what I'm saying? He ended up passing like a few years ago from a motorcycle accident. He ended up hurting his foot, you know, he hurt his foot. So that spring, you know what I'm saying, like, I was able to start. Like, I got a chance to really run with the ones and, you know, really just go out there and really compete. And I think, you know, Brian Chacos, John Hamlet, Justin Phillips, who else? Jaquez Dumas, Arthur Smith, who is the head coach at the Atlanta Falcons now, man. Those guys, they didn't take it easy on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, they brought it every day. They didn't care if I was a freshman or not. Like, and I think that really, really helped me develop. Like, that from that spring, I think I caught up with those guys from those 2 years, just from that one spring, just from a competitive and a physical standpoint, because those guys were bringing it every day.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so that really helped. And then I think the last thing that kind of really cemented my place at Carolina was, you know, we were doing these things called 300 shuttles. You know what I'm saying? We did a test. And so, you know, we had a D-line coach named Brad Lauren, man. I still have nightmares about that guy. You know what I'm saying? He was just, you know, just tough, you know what I'm saying, little country guy from South Carolina, but he stayed on me, and that's why, I appreciate Coach Grady so much, because like he was just like this guy, except for he was white. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so he told me, he used to always tell me, he was like, "You get out of line, I'm gonna send your ass back to Weldon." I couldn't go back home. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a no.
Yeah.
And so we were running these 300 shuttles, right? That was just our first summer test. And, I think I really, gained the respect of the team, because it was only like 5 guys out of like 120 guys that made it. It was myself, Holly Taylor, which was my dog, my running mate, Brian Chico's Arthur Smith, and I want to say it was my other dog, Martell Thatch, or it might have been another DB, but it was only like 5 guys that made it. And, you know what I'm saying, we were the 5 guys. And ever since then, I think that's what separated myself, you know what I'm saying, and I earned my respect at Carolina.
Well, one of the things about Carolina that I definitely wanted to mention was the fact that I remember seeing you after you had been in Carolina for 2 years, and I couldn't believe how big you were. Like you were huge, but all muscle. I just didn't know someone's body can go through the transformation. I had never seen that before. Like, I know people say when people go to college programs, they put on weight, but I had never actually physically saw someone go from, you were already a big guy, you're already kind of muscular, but you went from a big muscular guy to a huge muscular guy that can still run a 4.7. It was insane to see.
Yeah, man. We had a really good strength program, man. We had we had protein. We had a lot of things I didn't have at Weldon. So
yeah. So let's see. Let's talk about this. I have some stats here that I want to rattle off for you, or for everyone listening. There are 1,093,234 high school players in the United States. 6.5 of those high school players, or 71,000, will play for NCAA in college. So you go from 1 million to 71,000, they'll play for college. And then the drop off from college to professional level is dramatic. It's only 1.6% of that 6.5 that actually makes it to play professional football. So now you didn't know that?
Nah, I didn't.
Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to use that as a transition to the next thing that I'm about to say. So April 26, 2008, what can you tell us about that day?
A lot of nerves, man. A lot of nerves. I think where were you? Did you come to my draft party?
I was there.
Okay, all right, cool. I can remember. I know I invited family only, because it was like, if this don't go right, then at least I got my people here that love me regardless. You know what I'm saying? Just a lot of nerves, man. That was it, because.
So first of all, for those who don't know, April 26, 2008 was the day of the NFL draft.
Yep. I remember like it was yesterday, man. And we were trying to make a list, and like my mom was trying to invite her friends, my dad was trying to invite us. I was like, nah, look, I just want about 60 people there, that just people that, who I felt like deserve and play like a key role in my development. When we go back kind of to what we talked about, like circumstances and things just kind of falling into place. Like, I didn't want to share that moment with anybody that, didn't play an integral role in my development. Now, there's a few people that wasn't there that should have been there, and those people know who they are, and we had that conversation already. But the majority of the people that was there was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to share that with them. But it was a lot of nerves, you know what I'm saying? And I needed y'all there, because I needed y'all to kind of, just to keep me level. You know what I'm saying? And just so when I look out there, regardless of, if I would, 7th round came around and, we were still sitting there, it's like, all right, well, nigga, we've been playing, basketball in the backyard. So, this is still good for us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that's kind of how I looked at it.
So for me, it was, I want to share my experience from my perspective on that day. First of all, again, I told you before, I wasn't a Carolina fan. So going to the UNC campus was crazy. Like all the blue, all the just being on the UNC campus was kind of like a surreal moment for me, just because I respect the mentality, the winning mentality that UNC Chapel Hill has. Like I always respect the winning programs and winning mentalities. But when I got there, I remember going to the bathroom and then seeing in the towels, it was like the white and the Carolina blue and the white and the Carolina. It was just crazy. And then walking through, because we were in this room, I'm not sure what this room is called, but it had all the trophies and all the plaques and all the different NFL players before that. What was that room called?
We were in the Kenan Stadium. Where initially when we started, we was in the they didn't change it now, but it was the recruiting room initially. Yes. That's where all the stuff was. And then we moved to the hostess wing where we had food and all that other stuff.
Yeah, so it was nuts for me, like sitting there and realizing that this little guy, our little cuz is sitting here waiting for his name to be called by an NFL team. And I actually was sitting at the table with you when you got the call, because I'll never forget it, because we were at like 26 or 27 or something like that. And you were kind of getting antsy. You had two phones, and I remember your phone ringing and you stepping out. And then you were like, yes, whatever. And then you stepped off. And then with the 29th pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Kentuan Bomber. And it was crazy. It was crazy. We got you're here, you're at this moment. And again, obviously I didn't know 1.6% of college athletes make it to the NFL. I didn't know that, but I knew that I'd never met anyone who actually played in the NFL that I was close to. So to me, that experience kind of just opened up this whole thing of wow, like watching your progression go from, the basketball player to the little kid knocking me out playing ball to playing basketball to playing in college and now transitioning to the NFL. So that experience for me was something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, it was definitely, like you said, you never know the power of a moment till it becomes a memory. And just looking back on it, man, just now that we're talking about it, it's just like wow, like I still kind of just can't believe that, you know what I'm saying, like that, like damn, you know what I'm saying, it took a lot to go right for that to happen, just that was a cultivation of everything that, we had endured and, everything that, as a family to, so that was our moment. That's why I wanted my family to be there, because it was like, this is what, it's about. This is what the hard work kind of delivered. And it was just a surreal moment, man. But I just couldn't have picked a better situation, to be in, because like I said, my family was there. And that was the most important thing to me that day. It was just like not being at a club and not being, somewhere with some people I don't really care about. It was, to be there with my people, and, however it played out was still going to be all good.
Well, I also want to talk about some more synchronicity and how things had to play out. Because earlier we mentioned when you were in 1995, you were watching the 49ers play Natron Means against the Chargers. And to be drafted by the team that your dad was a fan of, and going back to that moment where you remember watching that game, fast forwarding to 2008 being drafted by the 49ers, I think that captures everything you said right there, like how everything aligned to result in the way that it did. Mm-hmm. That's fucking crazy, man.
Man, insane, dog. Like when you think about what are the odds of that, you probably can win like 2 lotteries with those odds. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just from that moment and until like being drafted by that team, particularly like what are the odds of that? You know what I'm saying? That's just nothing but, the power of God, man. And, I'm just so thankful for his mercy and grace, because, we did get that experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's great.
So experiences, and let me talk. I just want to say, man, I don't know if I've ever formally told you thank you for inviting me for that day, but thank you for having me there, because it really meant a lot to me. It really meant a lot to our family, and just being able to support you in that way, it means a lot. So thank you.
Oh man, listen, I couldn't imagine the moment without you, man. Straight up.
And so now we're talking about the NFL. Bro, like we played football. We were outside. We were pretending we were these people, that person, that person. We play Madden. We do all this stuff. What type of experience do you want to share about just what it was like seeing some of those guys and competing against some of those guys that we grew up idolizing?
Well, that in itself was an experience, man. Just being on the field with LaDainian Tomlinson and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, man. Like, I remember playing against Brett Favre, bro, and it's like, it's like shit. Like that is really Brett Favre over there. Like, I remember my rookie year, coming in and being with Frank Gore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, like I remember, the Lil Wayne ball about Frank Gore. Frank that is from San Francisco. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, like I'm riding this guy's Maserati, like just being in that element, man, seeing Patrick Willis every day. It's like, man, like wow, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just surreal, man, because it's, like I got a chance to meet Randy Moss that year, Vince Wilfork, Tom Brady, Keel Spikes came to our team that year. Jeff Albrecht, who's now the DC with the Jets, he was on my team and still a good friend of mine. It was just surreal, man. Like, it was just, I can't even really put into words now that you're talking, like watching LT run, man, and tackling Adrian Peterson, like it's just, really, man, it's just crazy, you know what I'm saying, to think about.
Yeah.
It's just real crazy to think about, man. But being in those moments, you kind of snap out of it because you're competing, but at the same time, it's like, damn, that's Tom Brady, man. That's like, I talked to Jason Taylor, man. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Jason Taylor had the same agent.
Wow.
Just having those conversations, like it's just nuts, man. And Isaac Bruce was a teammate of mine. So it's just crazy, man. Dre Bly, another Carolina great, was my teammate for a year in San Fran, defensive backs coach in Carolina now, so it allowed me to rub shoulders with a lot of people that we kind of, looked up to growing up, and just getting out there and being physical with them, man, and competing. Like I said, man, it's just a blessing, really is.
So looking back at that whole NFL experience now, like, what would you say is the biggest thing you learned about yourself from your NFL experience?
I think the biggest thing I learned about myself, man, is to not let, let people control my destiny. I think that's what I took from San Francisco. And I'm gonna tell you some, you my people. So, I'm gonna tell you some things that, I haven't told anyone, about my experience in San Francisco. And it was a lot of, it was a great experience, but it was a lot of things like, at the time, the 49ers, the infrastructure wasn't as strong as it should have been at that time. We had some guys there, Scott McCloughan, Trent Baalke, these guys are great football minds. I'm not going to sit up here and disrespect them, but I also think that, at the time they were a little naive with some of the things that was going on. And, I think like I said, I always thank the 49ers for, drafting me and giving me a chance to take care of my family and to put me in a financially secure situation. But I also, had a lot of grievances with them too, because, when I got there, it was like, it wasn't about what I was about. I came from a culture, under Coach Davis, where it was all about competition and trying to be the best that we can be. And I felt like, my time out there, like they didn't, and I have a teammate that will support this claim, that they didn't do that the right way when it came to my career there. There was a lot of favoritism. There was a lot of miscommunications, you know what I'm saying? And I really felt like, they kind of held me back in my career. I feel comfortable enough to say that. And, I don't think, they're going to win until they make a lot of things right. I had a conversation with Colin Kaepernick via IG one time, and, I just told him, like, hey, man, keep your head up. And he responded surprisingly, but I was like, hey, man, look, they done a lot of people wrong, not just yourself. So just keep your head up and, just keep, moving forward. God got you, and, so I just think my time out there was very, unfair and unfortunate because, coaches had their favorites, and I'm not talking about all the coaches. I can only just speak from what my experience was. And I just felt like there was nothing I could do to be the guy that I felt like I should be in that situation. You know, I think it was Trent Baalke or Scott McCloughan. One of these guys said, "Oh well," on Twitter. He was like, "Oh well, the guy wouldn't draft again is Kentuan Balmer," and I'm like, "Well, if you'd have gave me a fair shake, because when you cut on the film, like, you know, I would play 10 snaps. Another guy's playing 40 snaps. He got 2 tackles. I got 4 tackles. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we talking about?" And I think being there taught me that it was a business too. You know, and you know, God rest his soul, Paris Harrelson. He used to tell me that all the time, and Abreu Franklin. And I mean, I wasn't trying to hear it at the time, so I could have been a little hard headed. But they used to always tell me, like, just stay patient, stay patient. And I'm like, man, hell with that. Like, I came here to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? You spend a first round pick on a guy, like, what we waiting on? You know what I'm saying? What we talking about? But it was guys in front of me. You know, Isaac Sopoaga, which is a great player. I'm not here to discredit him, but we all know Justin Smith was a great player. Ray McDonald was a good player too. But I felt like I was just as good. You know what I'm saying? And you know, these guys are making, you know, I think Justin Smith was making what, $8-9 million. Isaac was making $5 million, $6 million. I was only making like 800,000. So, you know, and it taught me that, you know, everything is a business. You know, and they look at us just like we look at investments. Like, hey, if I got, you know, $100,000 invested in the car, guess what? I'm gonna drive that damn car every day. You know, like I'm gonna get my money out of it. Versus this pickup truck I got over here for 40,000. It's like, okay, you there, you're good, but I'm gonna make sure I get this shine out of this $100,000 car. You know, so my time there was very, you know, turbulent, and you know, it was a rough experience there, you know, but it taught me a lot about the business, and it taught me, like I said, not to, you know, get too attached to a organization, and like I said, not to let people put limits on me, you know, because I felt like a lot of that situation was, like I said, was miscommunicated, and I felt like, you know, even when, you know, everybody's talking about, you know, oh, he left camp and he did this, he did that. Now, that's not the case. The case was, like, I had permission to leave. You see what I'm saying? That's the stuff that don't get told. You know, that's the other side of it. Like, you know, there was conversations. Like, I met with the head coach. You know, he wanted me to come back. I wasn't ready. So that's when I started advocating for myself. You know, like, hey, listen, you know, and everybody talk about mental health and all this other stuff now, but you know, you couldn't talk about that stuff then, about what you were going through or what you had on the other side of, you know what I'm saying, your professional career, because always, you know, this guy's this guy's that. And it's like, nah, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you go somewhere and you putting everything you got into something and you feel like that's unjustly taken away, of course it's going to mess with your mental and physical and emotional state. You know, I had just came off surgery. Like, it was just a lot of things there, man. It just really took a lot of wind out of me there, you know, and I was definitely thankful I got up out of there when I got traded to Seattle, because if I could have got 2 years in Seattle, I think we would be talking about a different type of career.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
but
yeah.
I think that, and I do want to touch on mental health just a little bit, because I think it is important. I feel like you're right, that a lot of people, you know, and I'm glad, thank you for sharing that, because that's not the aspect of the NFL that most people hear about, like that it's a business, and that if you don't take care of yourself first, if you don't prioritize yourself first in terms of your mental health or what's good for you, if not, that business and many other businesses will chew you up and spit you out.
You know, because, you know, like, when people say, like, you know, I think the statistics is like, after 4 years, like 70% of players are broke. I think it's like after like 7 years, like 80% of players are like obese or have some type of like mental health, you know, issue. And then, you know what I'm saying, I think it's like 5% of those players end up like committing suicide or have some type of other issue. And people be like, oh, well, you know, I don't know why this guy committed suicide. It's like, well, I kind of understand, you know, thank God I had a strong support system that kind of supported me through a lot of that. But at the same time, like, I do understand, because it's like, you know, you get these, you know, like, they bring you in on this high note. And like you said, you know, once they like, okay, well, they decide to go in a different direction. Now you're expendable. Well, you know, I just spent $1 million to buy a house. I just put my kids in a private school. Now, because my knee is aching, you're going to cut me. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm out of $1 million. Y'all don't have to pay me. You see what I'm saying? Now I have my family up here for a year, or I got to decide to sell my house, take them back. Like, it's just so many situations, man, that we go through in that league quietly that people don't see, you know, and that's not something people want to talk about. But at the same time, it's a very real situation, you know, and more guys are starting, like, you know, I forgot the linebacker who only played like 1 year and then, you know, retired. Because it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can do something else or you financially secure, like, why keep doing this? Why keep allowing people to control you and play with your mental and physical state? You know, it's like the people who make the decisions ain't the people on the field, which I think is ass backwards. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, they're just making decisions based off numbers and, you know, whatever their, you know, their salary cap is, you know, because there's plenty of guys like Michael Bennett, you know what I'm saying? He's a good friend of mine, but it took him like 8 years to finally get to the bag. And I'm going to tell you, Mike B was been a dog since the first time he walked into the NFL.
Absolutely.
You know, him and his brother, Martellus, you know what I'm saying? So it's so many different situations, man, that I could tell you about, like, that it's like, it's just backwards, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad. And like I said, guys don't tell their side of the story often. And I don't. Like, you're the first person I really talk to on air about this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because you're my cousin and I trust you. And, you know, it's just time for the story to be told.
Well, and I appreciate that, because I feel like, again, this is, you know, I want to share experiences, as we talked before. And I want to share the good, the bad, the ugly, because I think that's where we find that's where we find the growth within ourselves, is hearing other stories or hearing the things that help someone overcome something, how they overcame it. And sometimes, and it ain't always pretty. You know what I'm saying? It ain't always pretty. So I think, and like you said, it's funny when you watch like someone win the championship, you see someone come down and the first person that's going to touch the trophy is a person who's never played a snap of football or basketball or baseball ever, maybe. But they're the first person touching it. You know what I'm saying? And I know the game. I know that's how it works. But it just highlights exactly what you just said. This is a numbers game. This is a business. And, you know, in depending on where you fall in line in that business is going to affect how your career goes.
Yeah. And, you know, like, and, you know, one of the guys that, you know, came after me, Nazir Jones, you know, I used to tell him all the time when he was going through different things, like, just keep your head up, man. Keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because the NFL, man, really, the key to being successful in the NFL is landing in a good situation. Because how many times, like, and I use Minkah Fitzpatrick, for example, you know, everybody was calling him a bust. Everybody was calling him, hey, man, this guy can't play. This guy can't do this. But it's like, okay, you brought him into an organization that wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? There's no disrespect to the Dolphins, you know, because hopefully I can coach there one day. You know, so there's no disrespect at all to them. But, you know, they're using him in a way that he's never been used before. So we got to first allow him to, you know, to acclimate to that role, you know. And then secondly, you know, it's like you're drafting him, but he trying to coach him in 1 year to do something he's never done, you know. And then not only are you putting, you know, new roles on him, you know what I'm saying, the new expectations, like, you're not protecting him at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, when people talk about him in the media, like, you know, he's still developing and he may have a hamstring or ankle injury, but you say nothing about that. You just let this guy take a pounding in the media, you know, his family here, you know, his kids here, his wife here, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, so that in itself is a problem. Well, you know, you think about this, okay, they trade him to the Steelers. Now he's an all-pro. Now he's an all-pro safety, you know, in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. That's the importance of situations in the NFL. It's like you can be, you know, it's a guy that may, you know, maybe a 7th-round pick, you know, that goes to the Washington Redskins and plays 10 years. And then there's a 1st-round pick that may go to the San Francisco 49ers. He only plays 6 years or 5 years or 4 years. You see what I'm saying? Because the situations just is everything. You know, the situation is everything. So that's what I tell young guys, and that's why I coach now, because, you know, I have guys, like, I want guys prepared, not only for, you know, the NFL, but for life, you know, and I've seen both sides of the coin. So it's like, you know, why not give that wisdom to the next generation?
So throughout this conversation, we've been talking about, you know, timing. We've been talking about, you know, being in the right situations, things lining up, like, through synchronicity and so forth. I feel like, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on this, but I feel like sometimes the struggles that we have in our lives aren't necessarily meant for us. And what I mean by that is the struggles that you might have are meant, if you can overcome them, you're going to have far more impact by sharing those experiences and helping other people overcome them. if that makes sense. Because all the things that you went through, and like I said, you made it. 1.6% of the people make it to the NFL. You did that. You were able to financially take care of yourself. The things that you learned about yourself through your time in the NFL is things that you would have never learned about yourself had you not experienced it.
Exactly.
But also, now that you're into coaching, these are things and experiences that you can use to help someone else prepare for their future. So I kind of feel like that's probably why you experienced them, because now you can help equip. You are one person, but now you can help equip God knows how many other young men to play professionally if that's what they choose to do.
Mm-hmm. And that's my goal, and you're exactly right. Like, and I tell, some of my other coaches on the staff all the time, like, this is my calling. They're like, man, why you coach? And I'm like, I coach because I love it. I've tried to do several other things and it's just not, not me. This is me. And like you say, because of those experiences, like I didn't understand them at the time, but I understand them now. And I think that's my purpose. Like, there's like, I had a kid the other day, he played for me at Sanford, he was like, hey coach, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a trainer, made a phone call, got him a trainer, he was like, hey, how am I supposed to do this? Hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. You know what I'm saying? I had another one of my players, Justin Foster. He played for me at Sanford as well. He called me, hey coach, this is the situation, So I told him, like, hey man, like he had about 3 or 4 different leagues trying to call him and play, and I was able to guide him and talk with him, so we were able to make the best decision. So it was worth it. Looking back and being able to to take those lashes and ride those highs and lows is rewarding in itself, because like you said, I can help. If I can touch, just one kid and help him sidestep, the landmines and pitfalls, not only of the NFL, but of life, what I'm saying? I've done my job and it was all worth it, and I tell my, my son this is, my job is to shorten the curve, what I'm saying, for you. Like it ain't for, you to take the same route as me. It's for me to shorten that, You shouldn't be, you shouldn't strive to be, a professional athlete just because that's what I did. Your job is how do you become successful in half the time? With your mental and your physical intact, so that's my purpose, and that's why I do what I do now. And I do believe what you said, as far as synchronicity, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So I also, that's something that I like, a similar thing that I tell my kids. I'm like, look, I just need you to learn how to be the best version of yourself.
That's it.
You can't be me. You can't be nobody else. You shouldn't try to be someone else. You should try to be whatever the best version of you is. And that is going to require so much of your time and energy that you ain't gonna have time to focus on nobody else if you understand that.
Yep. Agreed 100%. 100%.
So when I know we talked about how those experiences help shape, just is some of your motivations in your coaching, but what are some of the things that you have taken from other coaches that you've experienced to now that you've implemented into your toolbox? Because I'm going to tell you something, man. And I tell people this all the time. When it comes to leadership, I feel like in the world that we live in, coaches are some of the best leaders in the world. And I think that because coaches have to take every year, you got new people coming in, you got new situations. Your job is to make these people understand their role in their position. You're taking top athletes who were the best wherever they were, and you're trying to form them into whatever it is. And we're talking about at any level that your role as a coach is to do that. So I think, to me, the leadership that it takes for a coach, if we were to actually dissect that and apply it to anything in life that requires leadership, we have a whole lot better leaders out there.
Agreed. And I think for me, I had some really good coaches, and all of them were different, very, very different. All of them had very different styles. I had my first coach, Brad Loman. He was a fiery guy, all about toughness, all about discipline. He was very aggressive talk, loud screaming. And I do some, I played under that style before, and I know how effective that is. And then I had my next coach, Kim Browning, which is the guy that recruited me. he would yell. So if he yelled, you knew something was wrong. It was like, oh shit, like let me, you know what I'm saying? If he said, hey man, you not, you know what I'm saying? He's all about, you know, and I tell him all the time, like, you know, you're one of the guys that I you know, I've learned from my study because like, you know, being a coach, you know, you're not just coaching the football player, you're coaching the young man as well. And he always showed me patience. He gave me patience even when I didn't really deserve it a lot of times. Like, you know, when I was going through stuff or, you know, not doing the things that I was supposed to do, he never, ever, ever, you know, turned his back on me or just shut it down. You know what I'm saying? He always supported me, was always understanding. And that's why I love him so much to this day because, you know, you don't understand, you know what I'm saying, who stands with you until, you know, you look back and be like, you know what, this is a good dude. You know, Coach Browning, man, like even now to this day, you know, when we talk, he you know what I'm saying, hey, what's up? How are you? You know what I'm saying? When I see him at a coaching convention, gave me a hug, we laughed, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, I just learned so much from him, you know, just how to be patient, how to be an actual leader, how to make the kids believe in themselves. You see what I'm saying? And how to, you know, trick them and saying like, hey, look, I know we're working hard, but hey, we're going to work smart too. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's just a teacher of the game, you know, a teacher of life. You know what I'm saying? So I took that part from him. And then I think the last coach I had in college, John Blake, his skill was like getting you to really believe in yourself. Like, you know, he used to say a lot. He always used to talk positive to me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, freak. Hey, let's go get paid today. Let's go get paid today. Hey, first round. You know what I'm saying? He used to always tell me, like, you see me walk down the hallway, walk like a freak. Keep your head up. Keep your shoulders back. You know, so he really put a lot of confidence in me, you know. So I try to take, you know, and then in the league, you know, I had Jim Tomsula, he was a good coach. I mean, we had our issues, but, you know, through and through, I think he was a decent coach. Then I had Dan Quinn, who was a fucking genius. You know, he's DC with the Cowboys, and just his approach to the game was so methodical. And you know, I always knew he was going to be a DC because how he made us break down stuff. Like, you know, he would be talking to us about, hey, look, did you see the backfield set? What's the down and distance? Hey, you know, he would give us stuff like with what, like, I don't give a damn what the wide receivers are running on 37. I'm trying to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, well, look, it's important because you need to know how much time you got to get there. You see what I'm saying? He used to always talk about, like, you know, how do you break guys down? And him and Coach Brown were a lot like in that, like, you know, how do you break guys down? You know, like, you know, what have you set up? You know what I'm saying? So they really taught me to see the game in a different way. I had Wash for a few months. He was my coach in Seattle right before I got cut. I really liked him a lot because he was all about activity. We was gonna put in the work under Coach Wash. I don't know where Wash is at now, but you know, he was a good coach. And then I had my last year in Washington, I had Bernie, you know what I'm saying? He was a good coach, but he was all about toughness, sort of like Coach Lowen. So, you know, I really think I had a good coach. You know, I come from a good pedigree of coaches, and I think, you know, I took a little bit from each one to kind of, you know, pad my game after. You know, I want to be, you know, tough like Bernie and Coach Lowen. I also want to be a teacher like Coach Quinn and, you know what I'm saying, Coach Browning. But I also want to be a motivator like Coach Blake. You know, so I combine all those things and just really try to take my approach. And like I said, you know, but I think those are the guys I most want to be like, because it's like, especially Coach Brown, you know what I'm saying, and rest in peace, Coach Blake, like, ain't no disrespect to him, because he, like I said, he really took onus to the whole player. It wasn't just about football with him. Like, it was about life. Like, you know, even if I call him right now, like, I'm like, hey, Coach, man, something going on with my wife, or, hey, Coach, you know what I'm saying, something going on, you know what I'm saying, X, Y, and Z. He'll take whatever he's doing. Even if he's like, you know, on the field, he'll be like, hey, listen, give me 15 minutes, I'll call you back. And I know in 15 minutes he's going to call back. And I know, like, hey, whatever's going on, like, I know he's going to be there, you know, and that's something that, you know, I try to do for my players as well. Like, you know, Fagan today, you know what I'm saying, he had his pro day. We got practice tomorrow. I've been up since 5 a.m., but I wanted him to know that he had my support and I was there for him, you know. So, you know, I like to say, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm well versed in this coaching thing because I had such great coaches. And I try to take a little bit from each one to put into my toolbox, you know, and I try to not only be the best player I can be, the best coach I can be on the field, but I also try to be a coach for them in life as well.
Yeah.
So they feel comfortable calling me when they need something, like I do when I call Coach Brown.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I actually had Coach Browning in my notes to bring up, but I mean, I figured once we start talking about coaching that you were going to bring him up. And then we coming down the home stretch here. But there's a couple other things one other thing specifically that I wanted to mention, and I don't know if you remember this or not, so I want to bring it up. Do you remember when we had a cookout at my grandmother's house? You were there, and we were all out. I mean, this was once you were already in the league, and we were playing football in the front. We were grilling. We had spades. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
So I also I don't know how you viewed that experience, but I wanted to share what I took away from that. Bro, you inspired the kids. Every kid that was there was so excited to be there, so excited to be playing football or be out in the yard and having you tackle them or them try to tackle you. I mean, because I remember for weeks after that, Jalen and all these other kids were just talking about how they had a chance to play football with the NFL player. So I don't know if you know that it had that type of impact. And I feel like were we on teams for spades? I feel like
I think we were.
I think we ended up running the table that day too.
We did. Anyway, we did.
That was super cool, bro. It's the little stuff like that. As I said, with the experience of being on draft day, at the experience of the games that I've attended, at the experience, like you've really done a lot to help change the dynamic in the mentality of our family. And so again, I thank you for that. And I think I speak for everyone when it comes to that. So I wanted to point that out because that was just a huge moment in my life for sure, but being able to see how it affected the youth and the people coming up behind us. So that's huge, man. So thank you.
Well, no problem, man. And that's what it's about. Like I said, I wouldn't have got to where I got to without, following you guys, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's the role of each generation is just to continue to push the meter a little bit more forward. So like I said, man, I definitely appreciate you saying that. But, we family. So it's always, like regardless of what the situation is, I look up to you guys. So, yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
No doubt.
I just felt like, I didn't realize it had that impact because, for me, it's just family. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being out there with my family. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even think about their experience at the time. But, I just enjoy, what I'm saying? And I still enjoy. That's why, I try to go home. And when we do stuff, I try to always be there because I know that keeps me grounded, keeps me grounded.
Yeah. And it keeps the inspiration going. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that they'll, and we talk about how these synchronicities happen. We don't know what those synchronicities will unlock for them later on in their life. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. All we know is that we just got to show up, being the best version of ourselves to inspire and to plant those seeds into people to grow into whatever they grow from.
Yep. That's it.
So, all right. So now, we definitely in the fourth quarter, a couple, 2 minute warning. And I got a couple questions and it's not, these aren't really serious questions, but it's something that I definitely want to get your input in on, which is, so first question is there a time in history that you weren't alive for that you would have liked to be alive for to experience?
Yes. I would like to have met Bob Marley. And I would like to have been alive in like the 70s and 80s. Like I would have been a little older in that time.
So why Bob Marley?
Just because, man, the message in his music, I felt like he was so far ahead of his time with, just the stuff he was talking about, the political movement, the peace on earth movement, but also, the Rastafari lifestyle, taking care of yourself and, being one, with what's going on around you, And one of the things Bob Marley believed in, it might not have been Bob Marley, but, one of the things that I took from it is like, like stop looking around for answers, start looking inside for answers, and that's something I felt like I got from him. And I love his music. And another guy I wish I would have been alive to meet is Marcus Garvey. That's another guy, I'm a Garvey Knight. And I just feel like, I would have loved to have been a part of his movement and just to pick his brain and just talk about, and just see, like, just to understand the strength he had to just try to move that movement forward, the Pan-African movement, man. And I just wish I could have been alive and been in a position to support that and push that forward more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say the 70s because 70s is my joint too, bro. I feel like the 70s was one of the best eras in history because it was just all about partying, dancing, having a good time.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't, and it wasn't all the drama and different things we have today. You know what I'm saying? It was like you said, people could go places and have a good time, and it wasn't the atmosphere it is nowadays.
Yeah. All right. Second question. What's one thing that you think everyone should experience? Everyone, no matter what. What's one thing everyone, in your opinion, should experience no matter what?
Oof, that's tough right there, because you got me. You got me. But I would say, traveling. I would say traveling and getting outside of their hometown for at least a few years. You know what I'm saying? I think that's one thing everybody should experience, because it broadens your thought process, and it gives you a different purpose in life.
I agree. I know that's what we were talking about prior to recording. We were just talking about, like, look, man, it's a game changer just to get out of wherever it is that you are from, because you see such a big world that exists.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things I love too, man, is to see people that goes out like that, was the underdog, and now they're out and being successful in the world outside of our hometown. Mm-hmm. It's a young lady, I can't remember her name, but she went to Northampton West. And, I don't know her situation over there, but I just knew, like, people didn't really, appreciate her, or, she wasn't like the best person or the most popular person. But now she's in Miami living it up. You know what I'm saying? I love to see stuff like that. I love to see people come into their own. And there's several people that I went to school with that are really doing big things that people didn't think they were going to be much. And now they're more popular than the popular kids were. You know what I'm saying? So yep. I love to see stuff like that. I do.
Yeah. And the last question that I have is, like, what's one thing on your bucket list that you've yet to experience that you want to experience?
Well, there's a few of those. I want to go skydiving, man. But I'm sorry, every time I go, it's a weight limit. So that's off the list for the time being. I really, 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 and I've been, I took some lessons not too long ago. Scuba diving, I want to do that because I do love the water. So that's one of the things I do want to do. And then I want to parasail as well. I just want to go parasailing one time.
Man, it might be a weight limit for all that, man. I don't know.
Might be.
Scuba, maybe, but man, you a big boy, man. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
You a big boy, man.
Yeah, man. So I'm working to get this weight off, though, man. I'm probably bigger now than I was then. So
yeah. So. Well, Kenton, man, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I really appreciate, what you're doing. Man, you're right. You're coaching over at Hampton right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Hampton University, shout out to the HBCU, shout out to Hampton University. And anybody else that was mentioned in this podcast, shout out to all y'all, man. But thank you for taking the time to do this. It means a lot, bro.
Hey, anytime. If you want to have me back, just give me a call. I'm there for you.
You already know, man. We definitely got to have a round two, you know what I'm saying? But the next time I'll catch you when you ain't on at Pro Day, and we'll pour up some whiskey or something like that. Chop it up.
Definitely looking forward to that.
All right, cuz. Love you, man.
I love you too, brother.